The SV535 is a very fast scope, and that can make it easy to misunderstand. In this guide, I'm going to show you how I assemble it, how I attach the camera and the filters, and how I'm using the free focuser bracket I designed for it, and what I would actually shoot with this setup right now, especially for SVBONY's competition. If you want a deeper long-term review, I already have that on my main channel. This here is how to get up and running without guessing. The SV535 is a very, very fast wide field astrograph. That means it's great when you use it like a fast wide field astrograph. It also means that you can get disappointing results if you try and force it into the wrong role. So I'm going to cover the whole assembly, the filters, the focus, the camera setup, target selection, and I think what some of the more common mistakes people are going to make. The first thing to understand about this scope is that the speed is really, really impressive, if I haven't said that enough already. At f2.8, this thing can collect data very quickly. That's great for maximizing usable exposure time or working under imperfect conditions and getting more done in shorter time windows. But fast and wide also means this is not the scope I'd choose if my only goal were to, take one tiny spring galaxy and make that look huge on screen. This is better for wide star fields, galaxy groups, galaxy-rich regions, or even advanced things like integrated flux nebula, dark dust lanes around brighter objects, and larger compositions. Later in the year, it does become even stronger fit for all of those big fall and winter targets. So for spring, I'm thinking less tiny galaxy sniper rifle and more what actually looks good and makes sense at this focal length. So to start with, let's build the rig. First, the scope itself on its mount. I always want the mechanical side of the scope to be sorted before I start thinking about imaging, because a fast setup that is physically awkward is really annoying. So we mount the astrograph into its ring, like this, and mount its ring to its dovetail. So you end up with this. From there, I'm going to attach the imaging train, and in this case, I'm going to be using SVBONY's SC571CC. And I want this to be secure, square, and simple. This is not really the place to try and get clever. Backfocus on this astrograph is a little different than the typical 55 millimeters on most telescopes, so make sure you get this right. It wants 24 millimeters from the furthest flange here. And included with the telescope are a pair of 6.5 millimeter spacers, which are a unique size, so make sure they stay with the camera. For the SV571CC, you just need to leave one of these spacers onto it and then attach the camera right to it. Let's take a quick second here to talk about filters. I'll talk more about what filters I'd actually use in a minute, but physically, I want the filters, whatever filters I install, to be installed cleanly and everything tightened down in a way that it doesn't introduce wobble or have anything weird. The SV535 lets you attach a filter right to the front of the telescope, so there's no need for a filter drawer. So when you take the lens cap off, you can just bolt a filter straight to the front here. One thing I wanted on this setup was a cleaner way to automate the focus. I'm not good at doing manual focus. So I designed a focuser bracket for it and made it available for free. This is optional, but I think it makes the system more usable, especially if you want repeatable autofocus and a cleaner overall setup. I'll show you how it fits and how I'm using it here, and I'll also link it down below so anyone that wants to build the same configuration can do just that. This is one of those quality of life improvements that doesn't sound dramatic, but in actual use, it helps the system feel way more complete. So I'm going to go ahead and mount that. Don't forget your belt. Then we're going to mount a guide scope bracket. This is another unique thing to this scope. The tube is so narrow that with a full-sized APS-C camera like the SC571CC, most finder brackets will actually foul on the camera. Like I can't bolt this on here. That's not really an issue with the smaller uncooled cameras, but let me show you how I get around it. I use a stack of washers to just move the guider bracket out of the way. It does require slightly longer screws than you would normally use, but it's nothing too strange. I'm working on some 3D printed parts. And once that's done, I can mount my guide scope. After that, cable, routing, and balance. This part is boring right up until the moment where you did it wrong and your mount snags a cable or your stars get weird and you spend an hour blaming the wrong thing. So I'm trying to keep everything tidy and predictable. One tip for reusable setups like this, they make reusable zip ties. And these are great for setups that you want to tear down and rebuild later without wasting a bunch of zip ties. My goal here is to just make this be a solid bundle of wires that will all go down the mount essentially. Then I focus on balance. Here I'll use like a pen or a pencil to find the balance point on the dovetail by just setting the whole setup on top of that pen or pencil and seeing where it wants to balance. And I'll make sure that that is the center point when I'm lining it up with the center point of my mount saddle. And for something that's this compact and light, it might not matter much, but honestly, every little bit helps. This is also where I'd recommend doing one final check before dark. Make sure there's nothing loose, nothing sagging, nothing pulling against the focuser, or nothing that will rotate into a bad position later in the night. Let's talk filters, because this is where I think some people can make this setup either a lot more useful or a lot more confusing. Physically attaching the filter is easy. You screw it right onto the front. I've even seen some cool setups where users are screwing filter drawers straight onto the front. I've seen that work, but then you can't attach the dew shield, so I haven't used it that way yet, because for me the dew shield is really important. I think the harder part is choosing the right filter for the target. For galaxy season, most of the targets that we're thinking about are broadband targets. So if I'm shooting galaxies, IFN, or dark dust around a bright galaxy, I usually do not want to treat this like a narrowband rig at all. Which means that in a lot of cases, I'm going no filter, or at least a broadband filter first. Something like the SVBONY SV535 can cut down on light pollution while still allowing you to get good color on broadband targets like galaxies, reflection nebula, and those dusty regions of the sky. Now, if I pivot to an emission target, that's where something like the SV220 or the SV240 start making more sense. These are not just put it on anything filters. They are tools for the right job. They cut out large portions of the visible spectrum, which is great when your target is primarily emitting light from hydrogen, oxygen, and sulfur. It's not great when your target is emitting light across almost all wavelengths, like galaxies. So the rule here is simple: choose the filter for the target. Don't just leave the filter on there because you feel like it. Now to the camera side. The 571CC pairs really well with this. Modern color-cooled camera on a very fast optical system, that's a very friendly combination when the goal is trying to get useful data quickly. My main advice here is to start simple. Use a sensible cooling target. Anything below 0C, past that, I don't know how much you're actually gonna win. Pick a conservative starting exposure. For most things, I start at about 60 seconds, and then let the sky tell you what to change. At f2.8, it's very easy to assume that you want ultra short exposures or go too far in the other direction and overdo it. So I'd rather start with a reasonable baseline, check the histogram, look at star behavior, and adjust from there. This is also a setup where focus matters a lot. Fast optics reward you quickly when things are dialed in and punish you pretty severely when they're not. So I'd rather spend the extra minute or so getting the focus right, running that outer routine in extra time, than collect an hour of slightly mushy data that I'm gonna have to throw away anyway. So now I'm gonna put this on my travel mount. You can see what this looks like complete. So this is my pretty basic travel setup. It's got a small carbon fiber tripod. The legs don't actually go that long, but it is on a full equatorial sort of mount. This one does have some slick upgrades that I've been working on. So I actually had this CNC housing machine. There's a whole video series about that. But you just take your SV535, you bolt it on like this. You make sure that the center line that you discovered by balancing earlier is at about the middle of the saddle. And then you run all your wiring. For this setup, I'm using the Toptech Stella Vita. I've been working on a long-term review of the Stella Vita for some time now, and I'm just having a hard time coming up with any, I don't know. It's hard for me to come to a lot of conclusions. There's been a lot of really big, good changes lately, but it's tricky for me to say anything in particular. And again, this is where your cable management will pay dividends. So you're not having to worry about things getting hung up later on in the night. So I've got this thick-ish bundle of wires heading down to the controller, which is mounted right here, out of the way, so that the scope can move wherever it needs to and it's never going to hit it. Now I just need to plug in the mount to it. And then I run my whole setups off, especially my travel ones, off cables like this. This cable has USB Type-C on one side and the DC 5.5 millimeter jack that puts out 12 volt on the other. This will supply, I'll put links down there in the description, but this will supply up to 65 watts over USB Type-C if you've got the right sort of power source. I use sort of a multitude of different USB battery banks. Like, here's one that I travel with all the time, and you just plug this in and you're good to go. That'll power everything over that one USB cable. Back to the question of what would I shoot with this setup right now. For spring, I'd look for targets that make sense in a wide field. That means galaxy pairs, galaxy-rich areas, large compositions, and places where the surrounding dust is part of the image. This is where I would much rather shoot a larger galaxy field than try and force one tiny galaxy to occupy 3% of the screen and pretend that that was my plan all along. A really good example of this is the Bode's Galaxy area. A lot of people think of Bode's Galaxy as a really long focal length target, and it is. Here's an image that I've been working on with my long focal length scopes. And that's fair if your only goal is to make the galaxy itself bigger. But with a setup like this, one of the more interesting things you can try and do is capture all the dark, dusty structure around the area. That wider, dusty context is what makes this fast, wide field setup really cool and unique in its ability here. The same idea applies more broadly to dark nebula and dusty regions. The scope is not just for bright, obvious objects. Because it's so fast, it can also be a really nice tool for capturing the faint dark stuff around them if you frame for it and give yourself enough integration time. For target selection, I really like Telescopius and Astronomy.Tools. Both of them let you frame up your targets ahead of time so that you can understand what your composition is actually going to look like before you even go outside. And honestly, I have these bookmarked and I use them almost every night. That matters a lot with a scope like this because composition is a huge part of whether a target is going to feel like a good match or not. If the moon is out, I might also use that to my advantage and shoot the moon itself. Why not? Or pivot to a target and filter combination that actually benefits from the conditions instead of fighting them. The point is not to shoot what sounds impressive or what you saw someone else take with a different telescope. The point is to shoot what this setup is actually good at. This is the part I think that matters most for beginners, how to use the speed without wasting clear sky. A fast scope does not mean that you get to stop paying attention. It means you get your feedback faster. So again, back to the camera exposure stuff, my starting point is simple. Pick a reasonable exposure, check the histogram, check for clipped stars, check the background, and see whether your stars and framing still look the way you want or you thought they were going to. If the sky background is rising too fast or bright stars are getting ugly, try shortening your exposure. If things look clean and efficient, stay there and just capture more data. That's a much better approach than just copying a set of numbers from the internet and pretending that those will work under all sky conditions. The biggest mistake I see people making with a setup like this is, one, trying to use a wide field fast scope, like, a longer focal length galaxy scope. Another one is using the wrong filter for the target. So using a super restrictive filter for a broadband target like a galaxy is always a bad idea. Not paying close enough attention to focus. Most of these things with ultra fast focal ratios are very sensitive to focus. Ignoring composition, especially on those dusty wide field targets where the surrounding structure is part of the shot. Make sure you get that in the shot. And treating assembly details like cables, balance, and adapter tightness like they don't matter. They really do. This setup can be very productive, but only if the whole system is working together. So that's my practical guide to getting the SV535 up and running with the SC571CC camera. If you already have this setup, hopefully this saves you some trial and error. If you're entering the contest, I'd focus on simple assembly, smart target choice, using the right filter for the job, and intentionally using that f2.8 speed. If you want the deeper long-term review and more of my real-world thoughts after extended use, check out my main video. And if you want this free focuser bracket, I'll link that down below. For Deep Sky Labs, I'm Francisco, and a big shout out to SVBONY for, getting me this equipment and allowing me to speak freely about it. I keep full editorial control over everything I say about this equipment. Clear skies.